Let's remove the 4 rubber boots on the bottom. Now they are silicone and they are a little bit harder to remove than just popping them off, so you have to break the seal and sort of cut the glue off of it, and then they come off relatively easy. Then remove the 4 screws. The 4 screws, they go from the bottom to the top. Now you notice that 2 of the screws have this long spindle that's threaded on both ends. One end is connected to the base of the juicer, the other one connects to the top of it. You really don't want that. You'll find out later. We have a little bit of trouble putting it back together. At any rate, the motor then is held in place by 4 additional screws. You'll need a long screwdriver to reach them. Here we now have the 2 primary gears. If we put the white gear connected to the black gear and I spin it, you're going to see that it actually kind of strips. It's not really moving. Now if we do a close examination of the 2 gears, we can see that it's not that they're worn out, that the distance between them are so far apart that they're slipping. So that's a good sign. That means that if we can, now again, here, take a look at this. When I rotate the shaft, move the shaft on the black one, there's so much play in it, we can see that the hole is gotten wallered out. Take the wheel off of it and look at this. There's a fair bit of play. That's the play that we want to remove. We remove that play, we're going to reduce the distance between the 2 gears, thereby increasing the contact, and that's what we want to do. We're going to accomplish that by taking some Teflon tape and wrapping it 2-3 times on the bottom of the shaft, and then we're going to insert that back into that hole, decreasing the wobble. Here I'm taking the Teflon tape. I'm going to wrap it very tightly. I'm actually even stretching it, so to speak, which helps to tighten it, because we don't when we shove it into the hole in that ABS plastic, we don't want that Teflon tape to come off. We want it to fill in the gap, reducing the diameter of the hole. We're going to put a little bit of gear grease on it just so that it stays together and it slides into the hole easier. There, we've gone ahead and done that. Now we're going to shove it in. I think I got kind of lucky because I got a really nice snug fit. I wobble it and I hardly see any play in this thing at all. Now even though I've reduced the play, we're going to do one more thing. Here. Let's go ahead and put the gears back together. We can now see that when we put the 2 primary gears back together, I rotate it. Notice how the black wheel now spins freely with the white wheel. So we've now created a good contact between the 2 gears. Close observation indicates that these gears are not stripped. There's still plenty of tooth left on the gears. Now the next step is where I've taken a bottle opener, a metal bottle opener, and I'm going to apply heat to this ABS plastic. I want to push it forward, thereby decreasing the space even more. When I heat that plastic, I don't want to apply too much heat. I don't want to melt it. I just want to warm it up enough that I can sort of move it. I'm going to maintain pressure on the metal bar, if you will, until it cools and settles it into space. Put some grease on all the parts. I put it all back together. Now we're ready to shove it back in. Word of very important caution. The black gear, the one with the spindle that we just put the tape on it, it has on the top of the juicer, there's a little hole that it has to slip into. So you know that once that shaft slips into the hole on the top of the juicer, that it's indexed correctly. Here we've gone ahead and we're applying we're returning the 4 screws back onto the motor, and this here is actually the hardest part, is getting the bottom to reattach. You're going to see there's a little bit of a problem when we remove the screws. There's 2 of them. The shaft is stayed connected to the base, and we're going to have to remove that long, it's about a 4-inch shaft, and we're going to, it was too difficult to try to get it to align up. Much more easier. Here I'm actually looking to see, because it has to be perfect, otherwise you can't screw it into it, and I tried all kinds of manner and I could not get it to line up correctly. I'm just looking to make sure two things: that the wire cabling isn't touching anything, and that the was there a way for me to move the shaft so that I could get it in a screw, and there really wasn't. So the best method was to take it apart and remove that shaft and connect it to the top of the juicer and not to the base. Now, even though I can get a couple of these screws in, I can't get all four of them in. Yeah, so it's easier just to take it apart again, remove those two long shafts. Those shafts connect the bottom base to the top of the juicer. It'll make more sense when you take yours apart. Hard to describe it. Nonetheless, if you find that you're not getting success with one method, maybe try a different method. Here I'm just holding it so that I can remove the screw and tighten up those long spindles and get it connected so that all four are connected to the top of the juicer, and then all I have to do is put the bottom of the juicer back on top, line up the four holes, and it was much easier. I could screw one in, I could still kind of distort the base a little bit, turn it left or right, and I could line it up with the other holes, and it all went much, much, much smoother. So that's the recommended way to do it. So if you run into that problem, follow this advice. It's going to save you a fair bit of headache. And here it is. I've tightened it up. I'm going to put the rubber boots on. Let's go ahead and test everything, make sure that everything is working correctly. I hold the white shaft and I don't hear any resistance. It's working as it should, and there it is. I hold my hand on it. It's working smoothly. It's great. That's what you want. Remember to subscribe.